Why is it a very bad idea to turn your back to the predator? What will happen if you film a lion without his permission? Is the king of beasts capable of tenderness? You'll learn about that in this episode. These are insane moments with lions captured on camera. We start with an interesting shot posted on the web by a girl from Africa. Relying on her words, she was traveling around a national park when suddenly a lion jumped into her car. The lady didn't manage to film what was happening. At least she took a picture of the toothed guest. What do you think? Did she get very frightened? What would you have done in her place? Write in the comments. Oh, I think I've understood. That lion was one of the members of the Road Traffic Patrol. Among the lions, obviously, that was a rather popular movement, especially considering the fact that these cats are extreme territorial defenders. This video shows them attacking a car passing by. Do you know what conclusion we can make? You better not go to visit lions in your own car if you're not afraid to damage its appearance. Though if you respect lions and feed them enough, they will show no aggression and even allow a man to eat from one plate with them. This video was made in the United Arab Emirates, and judging by the expression on the girl's face, she and her acquaintances did that not once. You want to be in her place? Personally, I'm not eager to do this. It seems to me that however satisfied or glad a lion may be, it will remain a wild and incredibly dangerous animal that can break loose. It's their favorite host, which lions will never hurt, a man who participated in their development from an early age. The thing is that in this scenario, a man becomes a second mother to lions. So the animal will never attack her. It's likely to be on the contrary, it will pounce everybody who will dare offend their best friend. The way a lioness from this video behaves proves everything that was told earlier. Just look with which pleasure and love the animal hugs the man. Isn't this fine? So we're having a completely different situation. The lion in the cage has been placed there quite recently. He just starts to get used to life in this place. At the same time, a cat walking along the backside of the fence, on the contrary, has been living there for a long time. Even despite a big difference in strength, dimensions, speed, and everything you can think of, she was not afraid to show her serious intentions. Twice or 3 times, she jerked toward the lion, letting him know that he'd better not mess with her. Where does such a small cat have so much self-confidence from? Can you tell me? On the other hand, lions, as it seems to me, have been used to weaker creatures trying to joke with them, pretending that they're not afraid of big cats. For example, here's another moment. A girl climbed an enclosure and stood right in front of the predator. Do you know what happens next? She's still standing without any defense and moreover tries to dance. We won't do justice by saying that the cat was shocked at that moment. It seems to me that the lion was standing and thinking for himself, what's happening here? I'm a lion. Doesn't she understand how dangerous this all is? If you think that the lion didn't understand anything, you're mistaken. These predators are cunning and realize everything that's happening. After all, if it had not been so, the lion from this video would not have tried to run away from his cubs. So the king of beasts understood that he had to look after them. This meant a lot of care in terms of searching for food, teaching them how to hunt, and guarding them. In general, many troubles the father was not ready for. Though who knows how long these cubs keep following them? Maybe the lion has this style of upbringing. Speaking of raising offspring, do you know how that happens in the majority of cases? In fact, this is what mother usually does. A newborn weighs 2 to 4.5 pounds. It's only 1/100th of the overall weight of an adult lion. Lion cubs are helpless and fully depend on their parents. They're blind and even can't walk. To remedy the situation as soon as possible, it's important for them to eat a healthy diet. To make it possible, mother regularly looks for food, whereas cubs can gain 3.5 to 5.5 ounces daily. A month later, lion cubs become stronger to be presented to their pride. From then on, they start a new life. After all, they participate in hunting. In other words, they observe the way it happens and take note. The males, right the way the lion from our video, is never in a hurry to cuddle their offspring. It's simply not interesting to them. However, they still do something useful. They patrol the territory and protect their cubs from undesirable contacts with enemies. Mother assumes main obligations for upbringing, whereas other females can also show their care. While the mother is resting, the cubs can play with other adult females. From all accounts, this lion does not need anyone except for a man. It's much more interesting to him to creep to the friend from the back and try to frighten him, except that this time the plan failed. After all, the man saw everything through the camera. That does not mean trouble. I'm sure that the lion will note that another time and think of something new. The next lion that also got to the camera was in a stickier situation. The poor one found itself on a tree and did not know what he could do with this. After all, this lion was a little afraid of heights and did not not plan to sit up all day long. Soon, 3 lionesses approached the tree, and everybody thought that they stood a chance for the male to impress them. However, the character of this story was so frightened that even females didn't motivate it. It was only after the female onlookers went away when the big cat decided to leave its place of hold. Interestingly, as far as you can notice, the animal did that quite easily. The jump was not dangerous at all. This is just somebody who was too cowardly. Oh, if only we had an opportunity to talk with a lion and ask him why he was so frightened. Maybe the animal could have told something very important. At least, wait, I seem to invent something. Judging by this video, people can talk with lions. However, we should find that man who managed to start a dialogue with the king of the beasts. What do you think? What interesting things were they talking about? Maybe the lion was telling the man about good manners. Kings of beasts obviously know what they're worth. Otherwise, they would not meet ladies with such a gesture accompanied by a kiss to her hand. Leave a like if you also didn't know that lions are capable of this. It's become a real discovery for me. In reality, I think we do not know a lot about lions. They always keep to themselves, follow their emotions, and do not attack everyday passersby. Even this video is a trivial example of this. A man was driving next to the wild animal and annoyed him a lot. The lion tolerated this behavior. Just more than 20 seconds later, the predator stopped, looked right in the eye of the man, and intimidated him. You have to teach people a lesson somehow, right? So the lion from another video was not going to tolerate the intruders, even for several seconds. As long as the predator saw people going around its territory, he rushed to them. Fortunately for tourists, the car did not let them down. Do you know what never betrays lions? You're right, that's their mane. What do you think they may need it for? When you get down to it, you start to feel warmer. This means that hunting will be more difficult. What's more, it spoils disguise as it blends down with the scenery. What is it useful for? Why does it exist? You should look for an answer to this question much deeper. The game rules are treacherous in the animal world, especially when it comes to males and females. They regularly sort things out, fight for power, and much more. But if goats, for example, can butt and calm down, lions join the rigorous fight. The mane is some kind of a fuse. It protects the host from the bite on its neck. This is exactly why males are not always able to deadly injure another cat. Hierarchy can be set in the society of animals. This way, we can hear a lot about the life of lions in wild nature. Then you look at their behavior in captivity, causing some dissonance. How is this possible? On the one hand, those are almost deadly battles. On the other hand, you can see similar tenderness that will touch anybody, even the stiffest spectator. In the shots, we can see a lion cub climbing to the knees of its favorite custodian as if she were not a human, but its native mother it didn't see for all its life. The animal embraces the girl with its paws, showing its love and affection. This friendship between a person and a beast looks very touching, though at times the girl looks slightly dumbfounded by the attention of the cat. The main thing is that you don't get confused and start to think that lions love people after watching all these nice videos. Yes, those specimens that grew up in captivity can show such a relation to man, but as for wild creatures, everything's different with them. Look how decisively a lion from the following video rushed to the man when it noticed that he was filming him without permission. Something hints to me that if the animal had caught up with the tourist, they would have been short and unpleasant, just for you to understand what I'm talking about. Besides the point, the contact with a man is far not the most disagreeable that can happen to a wild lion. As scientists say, lions have almost no natural enemies. However, there is someone who causes them even more problems. Who do you think it can be? Let's start from the fact that lions can join the fight with their brethren. They can lead to the lethal outcome. In such cases, even the mane does not only serve as a protection. After all, the predators do not only sort things out, but carry out a full-fledged battle for life and territory. Despite this fact, their main enemies are parasites. Different kind of ticks harm parts of the lion's body with the thin skin where the beast cannot get them with its teeth or paws, for example in the area of ears and neck. If the lion's enemy is a man, or for example his car, it's less problematic. The whole pride of predators went out to the road and made people worry. Without any doubts, everyone understood at this moment that wild animals can go into a vehicle. However, it was no consolation. Speaking of hunting, lions prefer to pursue it in small groups and in the darkness. They jump onto their their prey from upstairs and cling to its throat, trying to knock down the prey as soon as possible. Approximately in 30% of cases, such an attack ends successfully, but there are periods when animals fail. In this case, they can starve for several days. Their main prey is gnus and zebras, whereas lions try not to hunt elephants, hippos, and quick antelopes. This occupation will require too much strength, and it's far not a fact that it will have a successful ending. By the way, this is exactly why such attacks in 100% cases do succeed. Lions are used to eating much at a time. This way, each specimen can eat up to 66 pounds of meat. It goes without saying that eating so much meat at a time, a man will never be in excess for a wild cat. It's not surprising that a man in this video, who is no stranger to this, did jerk sharply aside when the lion got out of the cage. Don't worry, there was another evil ruffian. That's why the man's life was in no danger. However, that looked incredibly sharp and dangerous. Interestingly, as I've noticed now, the man opened the way to it by itself. What was he surprised by? Maybe by the fact that the lion tried to scratch him through the iron fence? If you have your own versions concerning the situation, share them in the comments. Seems to me that by this action, the lion tried to express its emotions and feelings to the man. After all, as we know, lion's communication is provided by different movements. Rubbing with its head and partners licking are the most widely spread tactful gestures. Yes, it was far from licking, but still, it's known that when lions rub their nose against the head, neck, or face of another lion, it's a greeting sign. Maybe when lions jump onto the fence, this is the sign that they lack attention. Yes, I found out that the lion from the last story simply didn't like to be shown to people without permission. That's why it attacked the nearest one. This is the next clip I've understood from where the lioness behaved almost the same way. People decided to hold a concert of classical music for the cat, except that they did not ask about its preferences and decided to play a violin. This decision failed. The cat could not stand them playing and attacked the violin player at once. Fortunately for the performer, the glass was located between it and the evil predator, and everything worked out fine. It looked like she didn't like this violin play, and the cat wanted to put an end to it. Here is another one who obviously likes what's happening around. This is a lion from this story. It lives on the grounds of the sanctuary in South Africa and regularly meets people. Needless to say that people are not in a hurry to argue with the predators by any measure. They're their neighbors. That's why the cats went further and started to require some kind of donations. This lion, for example, visited people early in the morning after they'd woken up and made coffee. The spectators told, the king of beasts let them know that it also wanted to eat something. They'll either find a way to satisfy their hunger or it will tackle this question on its own. So people will be the first candidates for a vacant stop in its stomach. It's all right for people from the last video. At least they were at home in safety. Just imagine how terrified these people were who had to hide from predators in an ordinary tent. Just imagine this terror. You're sitting inside, trying not to make any sound, whereas two huge and hungry predators are in front of you, licking drops of water from the walls of the tent. Yes, you would not wish it on your worst enemy to find yourself in such a situation. The lion is a fierce predator that is not so difficult to cope with. Is it really so? Now we'll see that. It's no secret that one of the major confrontations in nature is cats versus dogs. It seems that some dogs are no longer enough to fight with common domestic cats because they can attack even big and wild ones. Of course, a dog has to be large to do this, because a lion is not the same as a cute house kitten. Such dogs as mastiffs or Caucasian shepherd dogs may well compete with lions. If they don't beat them, they can at least rebuff their attack. But this is all in theory. In reality, dogs rarely come face-to-face with lions. However, there is one breed that was specially bred and trained to resist the kings of the jungle, the Rhodesian Ridgeback. Now, these dogs can shoo away an insolent lion or chase it away from the territory where it accidentally strayed in. In the past, they took a full-fledged part in the hunt for lions, helped people, and pursued the kings of the jungle. For this, they were even nicknamed lion dogs. Still, domesticated dogs are not as dangerous as wild dogs. That's where lions have a real threat. They often have to deal with African wild dogs. These predators almost always have an advantage because they hunt in large packs. In such a group, they can easily defeat any lion if it's alone. History knows many such cases. Crocodile. It's one of the biggest enemies of lions in Africa. And not just them. African crocodiles, especially Nile crocodiles, are top predators, so they can massacre literally anyone. Only the largest African animals are out of danger, but not always. Crocodiles sometimes attack buffaloes and even defeat them. But let's get back to lions. It must be said that lions are inferior to crocodiles, not in everything, or rather not everywhere. On land, the crocodile feels not very comfortable, unlike lions. So if the crocodile crawls far away from the water body, the big cats will be able to deal with it. But in the water, everything's exactly the opposite. There, the lion has no chance to win. It has a chance only to be rescued, and that'll take luck. In the water, the crocodile feels great. There, it's as agile, fast, and nimble as possible, which is not the case with lions since they're not very fond of water. The big cat can only hope that it can dodge the jaws and get on land as soon as possible. Otherwise, the crocodile will kill it very mercilessly. Lions are afraid of crocodiles. Every time they have to wade through a river teeming with these toothy creatures, they feel fear for their lives. Even in theory, if we put a crocodile and a lion in the same conditions, in which they would both feel great and show the most of their capabilities, then most likely the crocodile would win. These reptiles have a much more powerful bite, denser skin, and they're larger than the kings of the jungle. The Nile crocodile is 5 to 6.5 feet longer than the lion and weighs at least 220 pounds more than it. The next animals in this episode are, on the contrary, significantly smaller than lions, but they also pose a great danger to them. In addition, lions encounter them often and consider them their main enemies in the world. These are hyenas, of course. Why is there such enmity in the first place? It's all about the fact that nature has given hyenas and lions the same food. These animals hunt the same prey, and besides often share the same territory. Well, or at least adjacent territories. And given that both animals are great predators, this situation could not but become the reason for their constant clashes. This, by the way, has been going on for about 12,000 years. Then the animals existed in Europe. In such situations, one species usually displaces the other within a few millennia. But in this case, the rivals are equal and they're still competing. A lion has no chance of defeating a hyena, but only in one case, if the hyena has come to fight with its clan of a couple dozen individuals. And this happens quite often. In this case, the lion is doomed, if it's alone. Hyenas will not give it a rest, they'll try to corner it and bite it. The strength of their bite, by the way, is even more powerful than that of the lion. And when the lion cannot continue to fight back, the last thing it hears in its life is the evil laughter of hyenas. Also, hyenas can sometimes just mock a lion. For example, they may try to steal its prey literally from its teeth, or they may simply terrorize the king of the jungle so that it doesn't forget its main African rival. Lions have enemies not only among predators but also among herbivores. And to be more precise, among them there are those with which the lion has almost no chance. For example, the elephant. Everyone knows that the African bush elephant is the largest land animal on the planet. This is a case where size matters, and it matters a lot. The elephant is so big that no one in their right mind wants to mess with it at all. The African bush elephant is 10 times the size of the lion. This sounds crazy, but it's not an exaggeration. While a lion rarely weighs more than 440 pounds, it's quite common for an elephant to weigh 5 tons or more. The giant can simply crush a lion like some cockroach. Lions are well aware of this, so if they see an angry and enraged elephant, they often just run away. They're not trying to look cool, it's important for them to survive. Elephants are herbivores, but that doesn't mean they can't stand up for themselves, maim, or even kill someone. It's just that, unlike predators, they do it to protect their family or territory, not to eat fresh meat. In a one-on-one fight, the lion doesn't stand a chance. The elephant's too huge and strong, and it has a very thick skin that even the very sharp teeth and claws of the king of the jungle can't pierce. Even a whole pride of these big cats cannot always defeat an elephant. In addition, elephants are also very intelligent animals, so they can repel the lion's attack tactically. For example, by entering the water, which lions don't really like. But the elephant has a disadvantage. This giant is quite slow and clumsy compared to agile lions. If an elephant falls down surrounded by lions, it's unlikely to get back up. Lions occasionally take advantage of this by attacking inexperienced and young elephants that have wandered off from their herd. In this case, even a couple of lions can easily defeat an elephant, but in most cases the giants with trunks have no equal. Rhino. It's a similar situation with these horned creatures. The rhino is the second largest animal in Africa, and therefore in the world as well. The white rhino stands out especially. The mass of mature males can reach 5 tons. The length exceeds 13 feet, and in height, such a giant can reach up to 6.5 feet. In addition, the rhino has a very thick skin and a sharp, long horn. Sometimes it can exceed 5 feet in length, but this is a rare exception to the rule. Usually the horn is much smaller. But its length is enough to intimidate lions in any case. As in the case of elephants, the rhino sometimes does not need to do anything at all to frighten the lion. It's enough just to appear near it. Rhinos inspire fear with their size, and lions often flee when they see these monsters. And if the rhino's angry, it's better not to mess with it at all for anyone, including even the most powerful lions in Africa. An enraged rhino is an uncontrollable and unpredictable threat that can finish off its rival literally in one move. The lion is many times smaller than the rhino, so the herbivore will only need to trample the predator or hit it with its horn to make it stop breathing forever. In a one-on-one battle, a lion has almost no chance of winning. But again, everything changes if there are several lions and one rhino, especially if it's a young creature that hasn't gained the proper weight yet. In this case, lions can easily knock down this slow-living machine and deal with it. But even in this case, it will not be easy to do this because the thickness of the rhino's skin reaches 3 inches. It takes an incredible effort to pierce it. Snakes. There are many dangerous snakes to be found in Africa, but they're not primarily dangerous to lions. Snakes are not stupid and realize that it's much easier for them to prey on something smaller. Nevertheless, occasionally there are situations when snakes attack lions. When it comes to lion cubs, they sometimes fall under the deadly rings of pythons. These giant snakes can easily grab and do not let go of their grip even large crocodiles, let alone an inexperienced and soft lion cub. It can only count on the help of its congeners. But if we talk about venomous snakes, then black mambas are the main danger to lions. These snakes are insidious and ruthless. Their venom is very powerful and can knock down even an elephant. Lions, too, can get hurt if they provoke a snake. In this case, the final hours and minutes of life of the king of the jungle will be as unpleasant and creepy as possible. Stable fly. Surely many of you have never heard of such a creature. In terms of appearance and behavior, it's almost exactly the same as the annoying housefly. Yes, that very that disturbs your sleep, buzzes, and is always trying to sit on your food or your hands. However, the stable fly is much more dangerous. It's a carrier of staphylococcus as well as the causative agent of anthrax, sepsis, and an impressive list of other nightmarish diseases. Incredibly, this tiny bug, which length does not exceed 0.3 inches, can finish off a lion without much effort. This is evidenced by an incident that took place in Tanzania in 1962. In Ngorongoro Conservation Area, where an isolated populations of lions lived, heavy rains allowed the stable fly to reproduce for 6 months in a row. As a result, the conservation area became a real hell for lions. These flies bit them, infecting them with dangerous infections. As a result, the local population of lions has decreased from 70 to 10 individuals. Never underestimate the power of insects. Although even a fly can kill a lion, we should not forget that it is king of the jungle and all beasts. Keep watching and I'll prove to you why this is so. Let's start with perhaps the most atypical lion on the planet. Look at these white lions. You can find many pictures and videos of these lions on the internet, but what is all this? Photoshop and editing? Or did these lions fall into a vat of paint? In fact, such lions do exist. One can definitely say that they are one in a million. Although there's no doubt in the existence of the white individuals, in the past no one at all believed in them. In Africa, where the lions lived, the white ones were considered a myth, while some locals believed that the white lions were some kind of legendary deities. Everything became clearer in 1938 when white lions were first seen in the wild. The first logical assumption is that these lions have albinism. It often occurs in other animals that turn completely white, but it's not that simple. White lions are white because of leucism, a particular color mutation. Unlike albinos, the eyes of individuals with leucism are normally colored. Today, there are only about 10 white lions living in the wild. In captivity, there are more of them. About 300 unique white lions are scattered in different nature reserves where they're carefully protected. White lions can rightly be called very rare, but there are other rare lions in the world, including entire species. Scientists believe that the Asiatic lion is one of these species. Yes, in case you don't know, lions roam not only the expanses of the African savannas, but also the Asian jungles. At least they used to. Asian kings of the jungle were distributed throughout South and Central Asia, and now they live only in the reserve of the Indian state of Gujarat. According to various sources, there are between 400 and 800 of them left. The Asiatic lion is similar to its African relative. For example, it's similar in appearance. It's also similar in size. The Asiatic lion is only slightly smaller than the African lion. But the way of its life is different. If African lions live largely in prides, which often total dozens of individuals, the Asiatic big cats live in small families. Usually the family consists of an alpha male, 2 to 3 females, and cubs. This is due to the fact that the Asiatic lion's food supply is smaller, and it doesn't have to hunt such large animals as African predators do. Although scientists are doing their best to preserve the Asiatic lion population, it's possible that these big cats will become extinct in the near future. The next lion from this episode has already faced that. I mean, it's extinct. Nevertheless, it still inhabits our planet. Some kind of Schrodinger's lion. I'm talking about the Barbary lion. The last Barbary lion living in the wild was shot in 1922. As a full-fledged subspecies, the Barbary lion is indeed extinct, but its genes have not been completely destroyed. Direct descendants of Barbary lions with mixed genes still live in the world today. Although they're not purebred, one look at them is enough to understand that they are different from ordinary African lions. The descendants of Barbary lions look formidable, rough, and even a little primeval. They have a thick, dark mane, stiff facial features, and coarse fur. These lions look as if they're always displeased with everything. And what is there to be happy about when humans have exterminated your distant ancestors? Barbary lions look very powerful because of their formidable appearance and large size. But ligers look much more powerful. Yes, the liger is not a full-fledged lion, but a hybrid offspring of a male lion and a female tiger. However, these creatures look more like giant lions than tigers. Roughly speaking, the liger can be called the biggest lion on the planet, and the biggest cat in general. These giants, who are bred and found only in captivity, inherit the best from their parents, resulting in a huge cat being born. The liger can reach a length of 13 feet or more, and its weight exceeds 660 pounds. This is 1/3 more than that of large lions. But this isn't the limit. The biggest liger in the world, named Hercules, is even bigger. He weighs 922 pounds, twice as much as an ordinary lion. At the same time, Hercules, like many other ligers, has good mobility, speed, and agility. Only the white liger can be more amazing and unique than the common liger. The first white liger on the planet appeared in December 2013 in a safari park in the USA. The mother of the unique creatures was a white Bengal tiger, and the father was a white African lion. Yes, one of the very ones I told you about at the beginning of this episode. This was the first time in history that a white lion successfully mated with a white tigress and produced white hybrid cubs. The white ligers became leucism carriers just like their parents. The 4 were named Odin, Samson, Yeti, and Apollo, and all were born healthy. Another unique hybrid with a lion's admixture is the Tigon. It's also called Tiglon or Tyon. While the liger is a hybrid between a male lion and a tigress, The tigon is a hybrid between a lioness and a male tiger. Like ligers, tigons are not found in the wild, as tigers and lions currently live in different habitats. Tigons are rare and unique animals that are endowed with the qualities of both parents. They may have spots from their mother and stripes from their father. A tigon's mane, if it appears, will always be shorter than that of a lion. Tigons are usually smaller than lions, and tigons weigh about 330 pounds. Although the tigon is inferior in size to the liger, scientists believe that this hybrid can survive in the wild, but the liger cannot. It has higher speed and better developed senses. In any case, they're not going to be released into the wild. So far, tigons are in captivity and even have fights with ligers. Check out one of these battles. Let's get back to ordinary lions. Actually, how can I call them ordinary ones when we have the giant record breakers next? The largest African lion in the world of all time is considered to be an individual shot by hunters in South Africa in 1936. There are no photos of the individual, but according to hunters, the animal weighed 690 pounds. As for the lions in captivity, one of the largest ones was an individual that lived in Dublin Zoo in Ireland. The lion set a record in 1959. At that time, he weighed 827 pounds and reached 10 feet in length. The record breakers include a lion named Mufasa from Montana. This giant was distinguished by a huge mane and no less huge weight. According to some reports, he weighed 639 pounds. All these figures are very impressive. In fact, as a rule, the weight of a very large lion rarely exceeds 550 pounds. And on average, lions weigh about 330 to 440 pounds. Feel the difference. Now let's move on to the little lions. In general, all lions are large in one way or another. It's not for nothing that they're called big cats. But among them there are not very large individuals. For example, northern lions. Otherwise, they're called Panthera leo. This subspecies inhabits the territory of West Africa and is inferior in size to its African relatives. Even large males may weigh only 330 pounds, while females are even smaller and lighter. They also differ from ordinary African lions in their way of life. Like Asiatic lions, the northern cats live in small prides, which are more like families. Also, they differ a little from ordinary lions externally. The manes of male northern lions are usually small, and some male northern lions have no mane at all. But northern lions are not only famous for this, they're also some of the rarest lions on the planet, because the subspecies is threatened with complete extinction right now. If a couple of decades ago the population of northern lions totaled 450 to 1,300 individuals, now, according to scientists, there are less than 300 of these predators left in the wild. Unfortunately, humans are largely to blame for this. Scar. And finally, I'll show you the lion that for a long time was called the most famous in the world. As you've already understood, his name was the same as that of the main villain from the Lion King animated movie. In 2007, he was born in the Kenyan Masai Mara National Reserve, where he lived until his death in 2021. Scar could not be confused with anyone else because he was missing one eye and half of his face was mutilated, just like the cartoon villain. In fact, that's why they called him Scar. It's believed that Scar received such gruesome injuries in a fight with other males. This happens all the time because African lions constantly have to defend their territory and the pride. Many of them die fighting for lionesses and supremacy. Scar ruled his pride for a long time, and all the locals knew about him. According to their recollections, for all his creepy appearance, the lion was kind and sweet. Unfortunately, in 2021, Scar passed away, but he died of natural causes, not in a battle with another strong lion. Such a death is considered very rare in the world of lions. Later on, I suggest that we relax a little bit and look at funny and incredible cases in the zoo and safari. They won't leave you indifferent. Primates are the creatures that I find most surprising in zoos, and this gorilla was no exception. From the very beginning, you can see that the gorilla is tired. It's tired of the close attention of the visitors. It's tired of the loud noise and hundreds of people's eyes. The primate decided to convey this to the visitors so that they would understand everything and chose such a gesture. It turned out to be very accessible and understandable. I wonder where the gorilla learned such a gesture. But don't think the gorillas are mean and rude. They can be very sweet. Like this female, for example, that has recently become a mother. It holds the baby in its hands, snacks on grass, and is doting on the baby. It's also gently carrying it around the enclosure, trying to make sure the baby doesn't wake up. And rightly so. The baby needs to sleep a lot and gain strength to become as powerful as its mother. Gorillas are a lot like humans, which is not surprising. They're primates too, and their genome is almost 99% the same as ours, so they have almost the same behavior as we do. And I'm not talking about caring for babies. This gorilla, for example, has decided to become a dresseur and an acrobat like thrill-seeking humans. The handstand's really cool, and the somersaults are awesome. What a talented gorilla we've just seen, haven't we? In general, zoos reveal a lot of talents among animals. Some are more interested in art than sport, like this rhino. The zoo staff is teaching it to paint. This giant can't hold a brush, so they have to smear paint directly on it. That's what the rhinoceros drew in the end. Someone will say that this is some kind of nonsense and smudge. Someone will say that the rhino is just a novice artist and its best paintings are still further in its life. And I'll say that its paintings are similar to modern art. In many museums, you can find something like this, so the rhino's painting is not worse than museums' ones. Cats are very curious creatures, and it doesn't matter at all whether it's a domestic cat or the king of the jungle. Here's a girl standing near a lion enclosure. It has some problems with its leg, so it has to move with the help of a scooter, and the lion is very interested in this device. The predator started trying to take the scooter away, unsuccessfully scratching the glass with its paws. It looks unusual and funny. If it were possible to do so, if I were this girl, I would give the scooter to the lion after recovery. The animal liked it very much. There are plenty of curious cats in the wild, too. Cheetahs are one of them. Not only do they like to chase their prey in Africa at insane speeds, they also like to climb on people's cars on safari. From the outside, it may look creepy, but in fact, cheetahs are not dangerous for us. They don't attack people, but they occupy cars. Sometimes tourists have to wait for a long time before a fast-spotted cat gets tired of sitting on the roof or the hood. Even fails don't stop cheetahs. For example, this predator accidentally stumbled and slipped off the open roof, but still managed to climb back and sat down as if nothing had happened. Would you like to be in the place of these tourists and get to know cheetahs better? Let me know in the comments. But it's not only cheetahs that do this sort of thing. Sometimes lions can also come to tourists and climb on their car. For example, they can climb on the hood, as the lioness in this video did. It's not so much fun with these predators, they attack people, so tourists may feel uncomfortable when a lion jumps on their car. But in this case, there was nothing terrible. The curious lioness just lay on the hood, warmed up from the running engine, and then went about its business. You've probably all heard of petting zoos, where you can interact with animals, feed them, and pet them. And what about semi-petting zoos? There really aren't any, but there is this unusual enclosure. There are holes in the glass for the otter's limbs, and everyone can say hello to them and play with them a little bit. I think it's a great idea. Remember that at the beginning of this episode I talked about how smart gorillas are. There are other intelligent primates, such as orangutans. To one of them, the girl draws a heart on the fog glass, and the primate watches carefully, and not just because it liked it, it wants to be able to do the same. And look, it very quickly understood the principle. It also breathes onto the glass and then tries to draw a heart there. So far, it's not very good at it, but this is just the beginning. I'm sure that after a few more attempts, it'll succeed. Orangutans are generally smart creatures, and the next video again proves it. This primate decided to inspect the visitor's bag. The girl takes out items one by one, and the orangutan, as if it says, "Not that one, go on, show me the next one." When the turn comes to some goodies, the animal immediately calls the girl to follow it. The primate shows that the girl needs to go behind the wall to give the treats to it through the fence. But it's impossible to do this. The passage is closed. Soon the smart creature realizes this, so it tries to solve the problem on its own. It grabs a branch, climbs up, and pushes the branch somewhere under the glass. Probably it wanted the girl to throw the goodies on the branch, and the primate would have dragged them to it. This didn't happen, but you should definitely hit the like button for such ingenious and intelligence by the orangutan. At the zoo, as in the wild, animals sometimes get into trouble. This tortoise had a typical tortoise problem. The reptile rolled over on its shell, and everyone knows that it's almost impossible for tortoises to roll back over on their own. One of the concerned visitors could not just look at it and didn't wait for the zoo staff but climbed the fence and turned the tortoise over with a branch. That's a very good and kind act. And this girl is helping the giraffe. Now, there's no need to turn anyone over. The girl's just feeding the tall animal. And she does it in an unusual way. But why can't she feed a giraffe by her hand in a normal way? Scientists believe that giraffes do not really like it when hands are reached out towards them. In nature, they do not communicate with the help of limbs, but understand each other by facial expressions. They're much more accustomed to contact with faces, so the girl fed the giraffe so that it was comfortable for it. People helping animals at the zoo are great, of course, but the inhabitants of the enclosures can also help each other. For example, in this case, we see something similar with a magpie and a capybara. The bird decided to spruce up its rodent friend and do its fur so that it would be the most handsome creature at the zoo. Okay, actually it's not like that. This magpie isn't a barber or a stylist at all, but the animals did take care of each other without even realizing it. The capybara gave the magpie some material to build its nest, and the bird in turn scratched the capybara properly, and probably the capybara got rid of some parasites and fleas. Judging by the blissful look on the rodent's face, it was just that. But not all animals at the zoo have such kind and caring relationships. For example, giraffes and an ostrich somehow ended up in the same enclosure. The ostrich thought it was the main one on the territory and started pestering one of the giraffes. The animal, as befits giraffes, behaved calmly and tried not to get involved in the conflict. But even such calm animals as giraffes sometimes run out of patience. The giant taught the insolent animal a lesson by pushing it away. From the outside, it seems that it made almost no effort, but even so, the ostrich flew off a couple meters. Can you imagine how much strength is hidden in the legs of these tall animals? When people on safari filmed this hippo, they were hoping to see it show its power or something. But all they got was a big yawn from the herbivore. Hit the like button if you also yawned after the hippo. As for me, this is the creepiest yawn among all animals in the world, considering how wide a hippo can open its mouth. Panda cubs can be just as naughty as our kids, and panda moms sometimes have to make them eat too. Here's what it looks like. The baby needed to eat, but it was refusing, so the panda pulled it to its breast by its ear. Yes, from the outside, it may seem a bit harsh, but it's actually okay. The mother did everything carefully, and at the end, even began to sniff the cub and rub itself against it, which is a clear sign of love. It's good to be a panda at a zoo and have plenty of food and constant love from your congeners and the public. But these panda relatives have to do it all on their own, getting love and recognition and begging for food. These bears stand on their hind legs for a reason. They know that people like it and that they'll get tasty treats for it. One bear ate quickly, but the other bear started following the bus, asking for more food. That was quite a show those bears put on, wasn't it? Well, since we're on the subject, I'd like to finish with another show. The biggest star of the enclosure is this chimpanzee and his band of congeners. Just watch a little bit. Imagine you're walking through a zoo, approaching an enclosure with tigers, and suddenly your hat falls into the territory of a predator. What would you do? Surely you'd just let it go and buy yourself a new hat. But the woman in this video doesn't think like that. She did the crazy thing, jumping into the tiger's enclosure to get her hat. There was a thin wire separating the woman from the tiger, but the predator could very well get to the visitor. You can see how it rushes around, doesn't let the woman out of its sight, and tries to attack her. She was very lucky to remain unharmed, but I wouldn't advise anyone to repeat her act. And here are the relatives of the striped zoo inhabitant. Today they have a little crab. For the lions, the crab is like seeds for us. The big cat will devour the arthropod and won't even notice it. The crab even stands up and tries to seem formidable to defend itself, but surprisingly, the lions are not interested in the crab. To be more precise, they're not interested in it as food. As befits cats, the lions curiously examine the baby. It feels like they haven't seen such creatures before. In general, it looks nice and unusual. Hyenas and African wild dogs do not get along very well with each other. See for yourself what kind of confrontations they have. Everyone wants to be the best savanna predator. But sometimes unbelievable things happen. For example, in this video, we see how African wild dogs made friends with hyenas. They've accepted them as part of the pack and are not going to hunt them at all. The dogs lie peacefully with the hyenas and just enjoy life. I wonder for what reason such an alliance could become a reality. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think are the most photogenic animals? In my opinion, apes have no equal in this regard. At least this cool model has no equal. Look at this primate taking pictures with a girl. It's sitting, it's standing on the swing, it's hugging the girl. And here it is, stretching out its leg and smiling broadly. Probably it's its signature pose for the photo. At the end of the photo shoot, the primate even kissed the girl's hand and pecked her on the cheek. To me, it's an amazing moment. But not all monkeys like to be photographed. For example, Barbary macaques can't stand cameras. Karima Nabi was convinced of this from her own experience. There's no video, but the photos make it clear. Karima approached the macaque, took a quick photo with it, and here the monkey rushed at it. The girl had to run away from such an angry model. Not only criminals resist the police, but also dogs. Although in this case, you can call them criminals too. Look at how this tailed gang raided a police car. The dogs attacked it for no reason and just started tearing the bumper to shreds. A bulldog named Winston started the whole thing. He did the main job, spoiling the car. But the other dogs also did their part. It's unbelievable how much damage dogs can do to property. They should have been sentenced for that, and the judge passed the sentence. Winston was sentenced to re-education at the Noble Dog School and awarded a tag, meaning he was potentially dangerous. The other dogs were apparently forgiven for the first time. A diver was swimming peacefully in the ocean near Hawaii when he suddenly realized that this swim might be his last. A tiger shark, an extremely dangerous predator that poses a great threat to humans, appeared right next to him. The shark headed straight for the diver, but luckily turned around before reaching him. It circled for a while and went on its way. Unbelievable luck for the diver. By the way, don't think that the sharks are found only at a great depth. You can run into the creepy creatures even in places where the water is literally waist deep or even knee deep. This footage, taken in the waters of French Polynesia, is a great example. A diver was filming underwater views and fish when suddenly several sharks got into the camera lens. They swam just meters from the diver, but luckily they didn't hurt him. If the doorbell rings, always look through the peephole, or at least ask who's there. After all, the guest might be a bear. See for yourself how the bear visited an American family. First, the bear scattered decorative toys at the front door and even chewed them. Then it sniffed the branch of the Christmas tree and rang the doorbell with its nose. But don't worry, no one came out of the house and the bear didn't eat anyone. The owner saw the predator through the camera's doorbell and told it to get out. As you can see, the bear obeyed. Animals often run onto the pitch during various sports matches. It can be a cat, a dog, a bird, or anything else. But in Australia, a kangaroo can run onto the pitch. That's exactly what happened during the rugby match you're watching. The marsupial promptly caused applause from spectators and players, but didn't interfere much. The kangaroo jumped across the pitch with lightning speed and soon disappeared. But encounters with kangaroos in Australia don't always end so peacefully. See for yourself. The cameraman is flying a paraglider and should have landed by now. While looking for a safe place to land, the athlete found an old tracking station, calculated his trajectory, and descended. But as it turned out, he was in the wrong area. He was immediately met by local kangaroos. One of them even attacked the cameraman, and he had to rise into the air again. At least the kangaroos didn't get too brutal and soon left the cameraman alone. Moose in Alaska are about the same phenomenon as kangaroos in Australia. Locals haven't been surprised by them for a long time, and it's almost as if they aren't feared, but they should. Look how this moose ran toward the man, trying to take him down. But the faithful dog prevented the hoofed animal from doing so. Despite its small size, the dog barked boldly and desperately at the brazen moose. The moose was about to trample it, but the dog ran away in time and then ran inside the house with its owner. I wonder how long they were afraid to go outside. Do you still remember the bear that rang the doorbell? Well, I'd like to tell you that these animals aren't afraid of anything at all anymore. For example, these got into someone's family pool, scaring and surprising them. What's important, the house wasn't theirs, they were renting it. Luckily, the bears didn't break anything or ruin the pool, but only raised everyone's spirits and gave them cool footage. In this footage, caught on a security camera, we can see a girl calmly going about her business. Passing by the car, she wants to close the door, but she can't. Someone pushes the door back, and it soon becomes clear who. The bear is in action again. The bear jumped out and scared the girl to death. She threw the apples and ran screaming into the house. The bear stayed on the street, lazily scratched itself, and went to look for apples. Apparently, it didn't find what it was looking for in the car. By the way, that's how it got there in the first place. We know many stories of dogs becoming friends with cats, large predators, cows, and various other animals. But what do you think of such an alliance? It's incredible, isn't it? A dog and a sloth is something new. You can see how much the sloth loves the dog. It gently strokes it with its paw, trying not to pierce it with its long claws, and looks at it lovingly. It does poke the dog in the face with its claws a couple of times, though, but that was purely out of love. How could such a sweet and slow creature harm anyone? Not only can dogs be friends with sloths, they're capable of many other things. For example, they can learn sports games. This dog clearly dreams of getting a career in baseball. It's dreaming of getting into the MLB. Now it's going to show what it can do. The pitcher throws the ball, and the dog hits it perfectly with the bat. Then it even ran to first base. Everything's according to the rules. All in all, it's ready to be signed to a professional club. In this footage, we see a man with a squirrel being filmed by his wife. As it turned out, their son brought home an injured squirrel, and they treated the rodent for several days. And now it's time to release the squirrel back into the wild. The man puts the squirrel on a tree so it can crawl away on its own wherever it needs to go. He sees the rodent off with strokes. In short, everything's great. But suddenly, out of nowhere, the cat of the family appears, jumps up and grabs the squirrel and then runs off with it. It was unexpected. But don't worry, as the family said, the cat didn't kill the squirrel. In our minds, rhinos seem to be very dangerous and aggressive animals. And in general, they are. But some people are not attacked by rhinos. For example, this girl. Look at this incredible footage. It's as if they've accepted her as part of their herd. The horned giants behave very calmly and feel comfortable with the girl, and she, in turn, gives them her warmth and care. Maybe in a past life she herself was a rhino. The connection between them is at the highest level. And here's another loving creature. The sea lion befriends the divers. It feels wonderful with them. It's like it's even kissing one of the divers. The sea lion doesn't want to leave the divers and continues to have a great time with them. But the congeners call. At the end of the day, the pinniped, though reluctantly, swims away to its relatives. Kitten and chicken. Before you watch the next video, I have to warn you. The cuteness level in this one exceeds all standards, so be warned. Here, the owner of these beautiful kittens decided to introduce the pets to another resident of their large and cozy home. First of all, this meeting was exciting for this kitten. It had just recently been born and no one had shown it the chicks. The little guy doesn't understand if these creatures are dangerous, how they move, what they eat, and what they're for in general. So the first time it was introduced to them through the glass, you never know what the cat's reaction will be. Realizing that the kitten is good with them, the owners decided that the fur ball could react with the chicks. Well, you can see for yourself what happened. The kitten really wanted to touch the chicks, to feel all their softness and harmlessness with its own paws. And in the end, it did. It finally made friends with them and got used to such nice company. Eagles. Everyone knows these birds as excellent hunters, uncompromising killers, and amazing flying creatures. They cope with all weather conditions and easily reach their goal, including their prey. But have you ever wondered what their first flight looks like? After all, eagles can't be so good at flying from birth. There's a video on the internet of a young eagle trying to fly in the skies for the first time. It was supervised by its mother, of course. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the weather was windy that day, and if at first the young eagle did everything quite easily, Then somewhere in the middle of the flight, the situation became more uncontrollable. You must admit that all the effort that the feathered creature is currently making is felt even through the screen. It's trying hard to stay in the air, though sometimes it's difficult to do so, especially if you compare it holding in the air to that of its mother. It doesn't seem to have a single feather moving. In any case, for the first flight, it was a nice effort. The eagle spent a few minutes in the sky and not on the first try, but still managed to land on a thin and unstable branch. He was in shock. It must have been something the owner of the cat told her friends about what happened to her the day before. She was sitting in her house doing household chores when all of a sudden a bear came to visit her. The woman lives near a forest, so such visits are nothing new to her. Nevertheless, the woman's cat had never before met such a large animal, and I think his facial expression captures it perfectly. I think at this point the cat was thinking something like, "The hell is this? Are these creatures like this walking on the same planet as me? If so, don't let me out of the house anywhere, please." Who is he? Next, we have an equally funny reaction from another animal. This time it's a dog. She was lying in her house and people brought her a little puppy to get to know her. The puppy was very similar to her, which led to this reaction. Probably the dog at that moment thought to herself that she had no babies, so how in this case this sweet creature could come into this world? Whatever the case, it seems to me that such a reaction is the key to a good mood at home. The four-legged creatures will definitely become friends and there won't be any fighting between them. Honey is sweet, but the bee stings. And this video shows us how a little Labrador tasted a lemon for the first time in his life. Don't worry, animals have exactly the same reaction as most people. They feel the sour taste and can't swallow the yellow fruit in one go. Nevertheless, no matter how the dog was making that face from the sourness, he gladly ate the lemon and probably asked his owner for more after the video was shot. That's all, guys. Which reaction surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you later.